Let's go ahead and hop right in today. So, if you've attended one of these before, I'm sure you're familiar with the structure, but I do see some new faces in there as well. So, again, welcome in. The agenda for these is we'll go over some quick introductions. I will walk through the recent updates from this quarter. And then Jordan, who will introduce himself in a bit, will go through kind of what's upcoming, which I'm sure is what a lot of people want to see today. We'll talk quickly about some news events and resources, and of course, Q&A for any questions that anybody has today. Today, talking to you again, if you've joined one of these before, you probably recognize our faces, but my name's Daniel. I'm an account manager with Hudu. Talked with thousands of Hudu customers at this point to anything from demoing, best practices, all of the above. And I know I've talked to a couple of people that I see in the attendee list today. Great to see you joining in. Jordan, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Daniel. Hey, everybody. My name is Jordan Hart. I have been with Hootie for about 4 years, and I'm the product manager here. What that means is I'm responsible for a lot of the new features and figuring out how we can implement those in the best way possible. And that kind of is going to bring me to my section of the webinar, which is talking about the features that we're working on. As Daniel mentioned, thanks again, everybody, for joining us. We're really excited to show off what we've worked on and what we're working towards.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jordan. Just a little bit of housekeeping because I know that sometimes in these we get a ton of questions, which is great, and that's why we do these is so you can get your questions in and get questions answered. But just some housekeeping for any feature related questions, product questions, any questions that you have for Jordan and I. Please use the Q&A to do so. It really helps us to navigate those questions a little bit easier. The chat is great for just honestly communicating with each other, with us, but not necessarily for asking those questions during the webinar. If you don't know where the Q&A is located, if you open up the Zoom bar there, you'll see Q&A, and you can type in your questions to that area. So now let's get into the Q2 review. So I am going to jump straight into the Hudu platform here, and we're going to walk through some of the major features that Hudu released in Q2. If you attended last webinar, a lot of those were actually in beta at the time, and now, of course, they're officially released. So we want to talk about those. So we're going to start off here with Hudu Bridge. Hudu Bridge essentially allows you to share documentation with an outsourced help desk or other IT teams and allows you to keep all the permissions that you need still applied. So I didn't want to go into the whole, setup of setting up a host and a guest with Hudu Bridge, but essentially that's the process. There will be a host end of things, basically who is bridging into that instance. And then there's a guest, which is who is actually the one bridging into the instance. And so here I've set up Hudu Bridge just so you can kind of see what that looks like, where I'm currently in this demo environment. And when I go ahead and launch the bridge, I am then taken to Demo 3. Demo 3 is the host, so they have applied certain permissions for me to log into their instance and see the information that they want me to see. They've set the permissions as a spectator and only given me access to this specific company, so I can go in and I can view the information that they want me to see. Again, great for outsourced help desks, other IT teams, a lot of different avenues where this can be applicable. Once you're done bridging in, you can go ahead and end the connection, close out, and now I'm back into my main Hudu instance. The next tool that Hudu released is going to be global documentation, and this was a very highly requested feature and something that I think has been extremely valuable for all of our customers. I mean, if you've been with Hudu for a long time, you know, sometimes it can be a big pain to jump between clients in Hudu, whether you're checking expirations, tracking down assets, looking at passwords. And so to get one consolidated view of all of this information across all the companies that you have access to, that's where you can go into global. You can access all of your passwords, networks, racks, websites, expirations, and all of the asset layouts that you have access to in one view. You know, some use cases of this. I have heard countless feature requests prior to global where you wanted to be able to sort by pwned and see every password in your entire Hudu instance that has came up with a dark web alert here. And so now going into global, instead of clicking into each company individually to do that, I can go into global, sort by that, and see all of my passwords that I probably need to change at this point. Same thing here for like sorting on asset fields, right? So maybe I want to go in and see which of my companies are using certain applications. I can go ahead and sort by that and see which of my companies all have these CRMs, which have these finance applications, things like that. Essentially, it is a faster, more organized way to get the full picture of your documentation. Now, this release also came with another big request, which was expanded access to documentation tools for your spectators, authors, and editors. And that's where we see these in global, such as documentation quality and flag review, giving those editors more access to some of those tools that you want them to be able to see. And of course, what this changed, we also had some flag improvements. We added many more flagging options, including more colors and the ability to flag pretty much anything in Hudu, ultimately giving your team the ability to stay on top of key items across your entire workspace. Now, if I need to go ahead and flag an entire company because something needs to be changed or revised or anything like that, I can easily do so, specify the flag type, and go ahead and add that description. And now anybody can go in and review those flags. The next improvement, which was another big one, we obviously released IPAM last year, and we heard countless times, how do I track my VLANs, my VLAN zones? And so, additionally, better network documentation was a focus from this quarter with the addition of those VLANs and VLAN zones to the IPAM section of Hudu. Essentially, giving you the full picture, allowing you to see what networks are a part of certain VLANs, and of course, what VLANs are in certain VLAN zones. Um, this association really just helps in segmenting your network and really allowing you to enhance your security as well. And just like how I just introduced global, these VLANs can also be seen in the global view as well. The next one is going to be Houdini. So Houdini, if you haven't enabled it yet, is a AI assistant for all things documentation, and it's accessible no matter where you are in Hudu. There's a couple different kind of functionality of Houdini right now, and one of those is going to be creating prompt rules. This is essentially how you can set your AI preferences to have the outputs be what you want them to. So if you wanted to convert your messy tech notes into a clean SOP and you wanted to tell Houdini, this is how I want my SOP modeled, or if you wanted to do a quick notes template, so it's easy for you to have that same quick note section look the same, have the same information across all of your companies, those are some things those prompt rules can help with. Another addition we made to Houdini in this previous quarter is going to be interacting with a KB article while you are on the article itself. So I can go ahead and jump into Houdini here, and I can go ahead and ask it, summarize this article. And Houdini is going to go ahead and take what I put in Houdini, and it's going to summarize this article based off of the article that I am on. This can also be useful for interacting with the article. Maybe you have a long KB and you need to find something very specific for that KB. I can search, how do I add Docker's official GPG key, which is again something that's in this article itself here. And now it's going to head and give me those exact commands that we have inside of our article. So again, just enhancing the ability to basically use AI. And yeah, we do have a question. What AI does Houdini use here? So basically you can set it up with a couple different providers, Azure OpenAI, OpenAI, or Grok. So any of those three are currently things that can be configured with Houdini inside of Hudu. And also, we do plan to expand on Houdini's capabilities in the near future, and Jordan will actually talk about that a bit later as well. So definitely look forward to that in his section talking about what's coming soon. Next one, kind of a big little change is that I've actually heard a lot of very positive feedback about is going to be real-time previews of gold standard assets. So if you don't use gold standards in Hudu, essentially what they are is making sure that when your techs are going in to fill out a new asset, create an asset, edit an asset, whatever that may be, you can set gold standards for how you want that documentation to look or be filled out. You used to essentially with gold standards, I would have to click into this and it would take me to another page. Now I can go ahead and open up what I've marked as a gold standard for applications and go ahead and fill in my documentation referencing this while I'm on the page itself. Next one, and probably my favorite one that we added this quarter, is going to be screen capture. This quarter, we actually were able to release screen capture for both processes and KB articles. Started off with processes, and we added the addition for KB articles as well. And this new feature essentially helps you automate your SOPs and turn clicks into fluid documentation. You can essentially document your workflows easily without breaking any of your workflows that you are doing without all of that manual effort of taking screenshots and all of that. So you can deliver results rather than write processes and KB articles. So as I jump into Hudu's browser extension here and go into screen capture, in this instance, I'm just going to demo a quick potential process that we can create, such as adding a user in Duo. Obviously, some common themes like this are adding your users in 365 or onboarding processes, things like that. So we're going to go ahead and start the screen capture here. And now as I click through, going into Duo, going into users, and we'll go ahead and add user. And you can see that screen capture is automatically documenting all of this as I am doing it. Let's go ahead and type in Hudu here. And now we have this process. Say I misclick even, I can just go ahead and delete that step. And it acts like it never even happened. We'll go ahead and click add user. And now we're done in this instance with this process. Obviously, I could continue clicking through things and screen capture would automatically document that. Once I finish creating this processor KB article, I can go ahead and end the capture and save it to the right area. Maybe I want to save it as a central KB article or to a company specifically for a KB or process. If I did select company process, it would then allow me to select the company that I wanted to save this to. For this instance, though, I'm just going to save it as a global process template, and we're just going to call this Hudu webinar. And we'll go ahead and save. Now, once I save this process, you'll see that it has been created for me in Hudu, and I no longer need screen capture for the next parts. Now I can go ahead and edit this process that I've just created. Same functionality would apply to a KB article. And, maybe I want to change the name of a step. Maybe this step isn't supposed to be called click users and I want to have it click something else. Or type Hudu. Instead of this, we could have it type user name. And so we can modify these, and also based off of the pictures that we have, if I need to add additional notes here, I can easily do so expanding on that process or KB article as I need to. So we'll go ahead and close out of this and go back into the demo instance here for a couple more, and then we'll get into Jordan's section here, which will introduce everything coming soon. So next thing we added in, which is a really good time-saving feature, is going to be keyboard shortcuts. Essentially, biggest thing, like I said, saving time with quick access keys for your common actions. Searching, editing, navigation all becomes much quicker with your keyboard shortcuts. For this instance, I'm going to go ahead and just open up, I just used a keyboard shortcut to open up the keyboard shortcuts panel here. This is going to show you all of the shortcuts that were added to Hudu. Again, a lot of different searching capabilities here. So if you want to search directly for a password, for instance, you can use this specific keyboard shortcut. And then, of course, a lot of editing items as well as markdown formatting. And then the last thing I really wanted to touch on today inside of the product is going to be our website enhancements. This was another, probably one of our most highly requested features was website enhancements. And so we added the additions of DMARC, DKIM, and SPF monitoring. As I go ahead and jump into one of my websites here and scroll down, you can see that I have this monitoring enabled for these three items. If I click edit the website, you can see that's exactly how we've enabled them here. And if you haven't enabled this yet, we do have a script for this in the automation library of our Hudu community to bulk enable these. Jordan, if you wouldn't mind linking over the community link, just if you haven't checked it out, one of the things, like I mentioned, we're doing in there is our automation library for various scripts that you can do. And those involve a lot of the things that I've talked about today, like Houdini, like bulk enabling these features. And then the other thing that we added as website enhancements is website revision history. Obviously, the more revision history that you get with your documentation tool, the better. You always want to be able to see exactly what changes are being made. And so I can jump into one of those revisions, jump back to any version, compare the differences, and see exactly what was changed based off of this website content from this specific version. So that's everything I wanted to show inside of the platform today. Now I am going to jump back into the slides here. And again, this is kind of everything that we just went through. But we also had some big little updates that I wanted to touch on as well, such as the ability to export your My Vault. This was a huge change that a lot of people were requesting. Super happy to be able to get that in this past quarter, as well as the ability to export your expirations, add files, photos, and comments to more record types, like racks, for instance. More API endpoints. If you've been with Hudu for a long time, you know that we are very API focused in the sense that anything that you can do natively with the UI, we want you to be able to use our API for as well. So we are consistently releasing more API endpoints for you to utilize. And Jordan will actually touch on a couple more that are going to be coming soon as well. Table improvements was a big one as well, specifically with sorting. Just we're always constantly trying to improve kind of how the data is interacted with. And we actually have more on that coming as well. And then, of course, the option to include archived records in your PDF and CSV exports. A lot of the times you may have things stored in the museum that you still want in the export. And so adding the ability to have that in there can definitely make things a little bit easier. So that is everything from my side. Now, probably what you've all been kind of looking forward here today is everything that we are planning to release soon. So I'm going to shift it over to Jordan for all of the cool things that Hoodoo's currently working on.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. Real quick, before I hop into my section, I'll go ahead and address some of the questions that did come up. They do kind of relate to feature requests anyways. So first one, love to use screen capture, Manuel. That's great. We love this feature as well. But sometimes the small auto screenshot does not show the context. Is it possible to or plan to create a screenshot of complete page or select an area, add to this? So yes, we have some initial or some future plans for screen capture. It's really, as I mentioned in our other comment, it's really in its MVP version right now. So we're collecting feedback on what would be cool additions to screen capture. There's another comment about blurring out parts of the screen capture results to remove names. That's also planned, and additional image editing options. So both of those, being able to grab kind of the full screen, as well as being able to add edits to the screenshot, whether that be moving it around, blurring images, highlighting different images, or potentially even moving where that little click radius is all on the roadmap. If you do have, feature requests for screen capture or obviously any other feature, please throw those on our roadmap. Like I said, we're planning to enhance the functionality of screen capture pretty heavily in the next few months. So we'd love to collect as much feedback on that and get a pretty good release put together for that application. Some other cool things, it's not in my section, so I'll go ahead and hop into it. We're looking into building the capabilities of the desktop app too. So right now, screen capture is limited to the browser, but we do have plans to bring it to other applications as well. Uh, Next question is really about the SPF DKIM and DMARC tracking. Can it be enabled by default? It cannot right now, but that's something I definitely recommend posting on our feedback.hudu.com page, as that should be a pretty easy add for us. So we'd love to be able to track that on the feature request page. So yeah, had a question about repeatable processes, like reoccurring or monthly checklists. So yes, I do have a little bit on the processes section, and I'll go be sure to kind of address the reoccurring one as well. All right. So yeah, thanks Daniel again hopping into my section. This format's going to be a little bit different from the previous ones, mostly because this webinar fell in kind of a transition period between releases. So instead of features that are in beta, we're going to have coming soon. We do have our beta release planned for this Friday, so coming very soon are going to be the next couple of features. Starting off is going to be a brand new integration with Microsoft Intune. This is going to allow you to connect Microsoft Intune with your Hudu instance on a per tenant basis, and allows you to pull kind of that device information, the compliance history, things like that. The goal here, reduce the manual data entry just like every integration, and streamline those compliance checks, asset tracking for any of those managed endpoints. Next up is going to be the JIT provisioning, or user provisioning within your Hudu instance. So one of the most time-consuming things if you're an organization is making sure that your users are added into Hudu and really adding them into all of your applications. So we're going ahead and going to release JIT, or just-in-time provisioning. Smarter user onboarding, just in time, kind of like that saying. So was sure to mention it. But yeah, reduce manual user setup again across tenants. Essentially, add them into your Entra or your identity provider, and they'll automatically get added into your Hudu instance. This is going to allow you to set a default role and a default group for these users, but you can go ahead and change that role based on the permissions that you set up within your identity provider, whether that be, Okta, Entra, any of those. Next up, so Daniel mentioned we're making some changes to the API. One of our goals is really to bring almost every functionality of the UI to the API, so that you can work with the Swagger page or other API automation systems and manage things. And so what we're releasing in 2.38 is going to be access to the password folders. This is going to allow you to create those, edit them, delete them, as well as assign them to specific security groups, so that you can choose whether everybody has access or only specific users have access. So really just helping with the automation of your credential management with this one. This does also bring in the endpoint for groups, which we'll be expanding on in the future, but you can also get those group endpoints so you can see any of the security groups. All right. So this one is one of my favorites that's coming out in beta, and that is mainly because I hear requests daily on, can I hide the created and updated from columns inside of Hudu? So with this update, you're going to be able to customize, or each of your technicians can customize which columns are visible on pretty much every single tool, whether that be passwords, websites, or assets. You can go ahead and customize which columns are available. So with any of the core tools, I believe every column is customizable, whether your technician wants to view those or hide those, and it is specific per technician, and it's sticky, so it'll stay for that particular tool, regardless of how many sessions they go ahead and access it on. And then for assets, it is just the ability to hide the updated created and updated columns, but we will be expanding on that and allow technicians to hide any column in the future. This current version or this MVP version of it is really just for the created updated for assets only, every other tool, you can hide every column. With that, and I think I do have it later on in my section, we'll also be expanding this into the global area as well. So you'll be able to do that. But with this first version, it will only be on a per company basis. And yeah, question, really excited for the password folder API. Big little update. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So this is that second section or second part of my section. This is going to be kind of what I'm calling in queue. These are ideas that we are actively developing and are on track for near future releases. These won't be included in 2.38, but should a lot of them will be shortly following. And so starting off is probably one of the most popular features that we've been talking about. We actually brought it up last quarter webinar. It was initially scheduled in 2.38, but did hit some hiccups. So it's pushed back to 2.39, but that'll be following very shortly after 2.38. And that is connected fields. Yeah, I see all the emojis coming up in the chat. So yeah, connected fields is going to allow you to take your integration data and map it into those custom asset layout fields. The benefit here is that you're going to be able to see those that integration data and those fields when viewing the asset in the table format. You're going to be able to export that information and get all of the integration information. You're even able to selectively choose which integration is populating which field. So if you happen to have information coming from ConnectWise and Data ORMM, you can choose which of those integrations is populating which field and get a full picture of that information inside of those custom asset fields. So yeah, question on connected fields. Can you add details manual to those fields? Uh, Emil, would you mind expanding on that? It looks like Kristen is answering that. She's been kind of helping spearhead that project. But if you don't mind adding a little bit more details, I can try and expand on that as well. Yes, in 2.39. Yeah, so this is coming out very shortly. All right, Daniel, if you want to go to the next one, I'll keep monitoring questions on that one just in case. Next up is photo folders. This is another one that is going to be released in 2.39. Really, it's pretty self-explanatory, but being able to organize your photos or your photos tool with folders. This will allow you to drag and drop any of those folders. It'll have access if you're uploading via, say, the mobile app or just into an asset or into the Photos tool itself, you're able to organize those with photos. Again, we do have some additional ideas coming for photos, like additional editing, archiving. I do believe, Patrick, is on the roadmap. I don't believe it's going to be in this update, but that one should be following pretty shortly after. Emil, great question. So you're essentially selectively choosing which fields you want to be populated by the integration. But if you do happen to have a customer that is that say doesn't have that integration set up, you can go ahead and manually enter that information as well. So the integration data will only populate those custom fields when they actually have information coming from an integration and you've mapped the integration to fill the specific field. All right, next up is another integration. So this is a super highly requested feature. It's going to work similarly to our Microsoft integration, but it's the Google Workspace integration. So this is going to allow you to pull user or contact information and the licensing information if you happen to be utilizing Google Workspace, or actually if your clients happen to be on Google Workspace. And again, it's going to work very similar to that Microsoft integration if you're using that currently. It's set up on a per tenant basis and pull all of that information in. Again, just a way to keep all of your information in a centralized location. Alrighty, so this is what Daniel was alluding to with the Houdini AI improvements that we're working on. Houdini is one of those features that we want to continue expanding on and will continue expanding on in probably the next few updates, where we'll continue releasing feature by feature to essentially turn Houdini AI into a super powered AI help desk that lives within your Hudu instance. Like Daniel mentioned, Houdini can be set up with OpenAI, Azure, and Grok. We do have plans to expand on that as well, specifically towards some self-hosted instances of AI, so that so those will work for you as well. This next feature, though, is going to be additional article awareness. So essentially utilizing AI RAG features to suggest different articles when you ask Houdini questions. What this means and why it's different from what Daniel was showing off is currently Houdini is limited by the article that you are currently on. With this new feature, you're going to be able to ask Houdini questions about any of your articles from wherever you are. So you could have it summarize a specific article if you know the title of it from the dashboard. You could ask it specific questions like this screenshot. If you had any questions on window workstation configuration, you could go ahead and ask it questions, and it'll spit out responses based on the documentation you have stored inside of Hudu. Not only that, but it's also going to suggest you looking at particular articles within your instance and any neighboring articles or similar articles. A great example of that is if you're curious about keyboard shortcuts, it will not only suggest what keyboard shortcuts you have potentially you may need for Windows, it would also suggest other ones like keyboard shortcuts on Mac, or if you happen to have an article on keyboard shortcuts for Hudu, it'll go ahead and suggest those articles for you so that you can, one, hopefully supplement search a little bit by being able to access a documentation search specifically, ask questions. Your technicians have that AI help desk agent kind of right there inside of Hudu for you. No more needing to search through articles. You can just use AI to help you do that. All right, Daniel, if you want to go to the next one for me. All right, so this is kind of the last section that I have. It's going to be more Q3 improvements. These ones are actively on our roadmap and what we're going to be working on, but they haven't quite started development yet, but will be in early Q3. Like I mentioned, it's going to be table filtering for global. So like we're releasing in 2.38 for the company, you're going to be able to filter which columns are available within your global tab. That'll allow your technicians to choose which ones they want to see when they're viewing specific passwords, websites, or particular assets. Next up is going to be the PDF overhaul. So one of the complaints we get quite a bit is that our PDFs are, for lack of a better word, pretty ugly. So what this is going to go ahead and do is clean up the PDF so they're a much nicer format. They're easier to use. They'll have quick links to the documentation from that table of contents, and they're going to expand on what information you can actually export. Things like processes will be exportable. So working on improving that, as well as making it quite a bit easier for our engineers to actually expand on the functionality of the PDFs by using a new system for those. So got some questions that I'll go ahead and stop real quick. Will Houdini be able to read data in a picture inside of a KB? Emil, I don't believe so. Off the initial bat, I believe it can only read the content. That's definitely something that we can take a look into. Again, kind of like screen capture, this is going to be an ongoing feature that we're improving upon. So any feature requests that you have please throw those on feedback.hudu.com. We'd love to collect all of those and continue expanding on the feature itself. Todd, are there any documents that address what data is being accessed in our client's area? Security, prevent data leakage to AI. Um, are are Could you expand on that? Are you talking essentially a reporting interface where you're able to see kind of what's shared out and who's accessing? I'd love to answer that a little bit more in depth, but if you could provide some clarity on what you're looking for there. Last up on this Q3 improvements is going to be the multi-tenant SSO. So one of the things that we hear quite a lot is that the portal does not allow users to sign in via SSO. So this would not only allow them to sign in via SSO, but it'll also allow you to set up multi-tenant support for SSO. So that'll help with co-managed teams. So you could set up potentially Okta, Entra, Jump Cloud, any of those, and configure those all to allow users to sign into the Hudu instance. This feature actually probably should have been after my next one, but it kind of goes hand in hand with the first one of my next slide. So features on the runway. Again, these are things that we will be releasing and they'll be starting development in Q3. I don't quite want to give a timeline on when they'll be developed. Our goal is obviously get them out as quickly as possible, but these are some really large features. So starting off is going to be the external portal changes that we have. We want to completely revamp how the portal is handled and how you're sharing information with clients. This will allow you access to your clients access to more documentation tools. A lot of the new features that we've been releasing, IPAM, networks, racks, they're not currently available in the portal. So we'd like to bring that capability to those external users and allow you to choose whether or not you're sharing that information with them. With this new portal change, we're also going to allow you to utilize the existing permission system. So you can actually set granular access on those portal users. Right now, every portal user shares the same access. They have access to the portal and it is all or nothing. We'd like to be able to allow you to utilize those security groups to really limit what each portal user per company is able to see. And going along with that last feature I just talked about, SSO for portal users. Allow your identity provider or their identity provider to connect to Hudu and log them in. Next up is workflows. This is going to be a brand new feature within Hudu. And again, similar to the screen capture, to the Houdini, it's going to be an ongoing feature that we continue to develop and release new features to. This is essentially going to allow you to set up triggers and actions within Hudu. And those triggers and actions can be a ton of different things. Starting off, we're going to bring some review capability to your documentation. The trigger would be that when something is updated, created, deleted, that you're going to be able to flag the documentation and allow that for better reviews. With this, again, we have a ton of plans on how we want to expand on this, potentially accessing the API and doing, different things with the workflows or the automations, but directly inside of Hudu. This is a really cool feature. And again, it's going to release in its MVP form. So if you have feature ideas for how we can make better review workflows, how we can do different things, potentially renaming information if it hits certain keywords, tagging information, things like that, please throw those in the feedback.hudu.com page. We'd love to take a look as we will be expanding on this pretty heavily in the future. Next up is the process overhaul. So we did have a couple questions on this earlier. This is probably what the feature that you'd be looking for. So not only are we going to go ahead and revamp how processes are with a more intuitive interface, sub-processes, sub-checklists of processes, and global processes, We're going to add a ton of different features to these, like being able to assign process steps to technicians in bulk or assign an entire process to a technician. Instead of right now, where you have to assign each individually, there's going to be process subtasks, and you're going to be able to view a run report of the processes that have been added to assets that are in your global processes, things like that. Processes, again, is getting a pretty big overhaul in not only the interface, but a lot of the functionality. So you can really utilize these however you'd like. They're pretty customizable now. They'll be extremely customizable in the future. And lastly, on the runway is going to be the Halo Hudu KB sync. So right now we do integrate and pull the data from Halo into Hudu to populate assets, but it doesn't have any functionality with the Halo KB. What we're going to be releasing is going to be syncing KB articles between the two products so that you could update that information wherever you are and keep all of your documentation in check. Whether you're on a ticket and utilizing Halo's KB or potentially Hudu Assist, our little widget that sits within Halo, you'll be able to access your documentation, update it, and have it reflect in both locations. I don't have too many more details on that. Again, this is still in an exploration phase. If you have feature requests or ideas for that, please feel free to shoot those over to us. But that'll be a pretty cool feature for all of our Halo users. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, that's my last slide. So I'll hop over to questions and try and answer a lot of these. Alan, will photos be visible in the portal? So yes, photos will be available to client users for you to selectively choose whether or not they can view those. That is one of the tools that will be getting added. Let's see. Are there Most vendors don't tell us clearly how AI is using our client data and that the application has access to. This is a liability issue that I anticipate our cyber insurance will be asking soon in our annual reviews. Yeah, that's a great question, Todd. I'd probably have to work with an engineer to see how we could get that report. But that's definitely a good idea to have some sort of visibility. Right now, it does just have access to your articles. We have explicitly not allowed it access to anything else. As we continue to expand on what it has access to, truthfully, I'm not quite sure we'll ever go into it having access to passwords or any of the confidential information within your organization. But I'll go ahead and jot that note down, as that's a great thing to keep in mind. Are there any enhancements coming to the asset data being synchronized between HaloPSA and Hudu, i.e. customizable fields, software industry related items, laptop monitors, docs, users? Great question, Todd. Yes, I know that's kind of been talked about internally with our team. I don't think we have a timeline on that, but I highly recommend upvoting that request on our feedback page. Again, it's something we've definitely talked about and would like to expand on. We have quite a few plans for our integrations right now on the roadmap and in queue. But once connected fields, a very large project finishes up, our engineers should have a little bit more free time to explore different integrations and improvements. When are there going to be more enhancements to the mobile app? So the mobile app gets updates typically about once per month. If you have specific things that you'd like to see in the mobile app, please feel free to shoot those over to myself, add them to the feedback page. The next enhancement that I know is going to be editing assets, I believe, and more info or more access. But if you have specifics, I'd love to hear those. Was the Halo Hudu KB sync both ways, or will Halo be master? Emil, if I'm not mistaken, I think we're going to go a two-way sync with that. Right now, we're actually working with the Halo team to figure out the best approach for that and how we can sync that data, how organization's going to take. what takes priority if there needs to be priority. But yeah, as far as I know, or at least initially, we're thinking it's going to be a two-way sync with that integration. Any options for Magic Dash type functions in the external portal in the future? So yes, there's likely going to be access to the Magic Dash, or to be able to view those Magic Dash with the portal changes that we are looking into. Don't know a ton of specifics on the Magic Dash capability yet, whether you'll be able to selectively choose which ones they can see, which is probably likely. But yeah, our goal would be that they can see almost anything inside of your Hudu instance that your technicians can see, obviously limited by the permissions that you set on them.
Awesome. Thanks for answering all those questions there, Jordan. And yeah, I know Kristen and myself were also answering some in the chat. So should be pretty caught up at this point with questions. We'll go ahead and jump into just some quick news, events, and resources, all things Hudu. Feel free to keep asking questions in the Q&A here. We still have another 13 minutes or so. So, we're happy to stay on and answer any and all questions that you have today. So back to this, I've mentioned the community a couple times. Jordan did link the community in the chat there as well. If you haven't joined yet, we would love for you to join, and even more so, we would love for you to contribute as well. We have been working hard to build out that community with both a basis to just discuss with other Hudu users, ask questions, and get feedback from issues you're having, or features, or whatever that may be. We have that full discussion page to do so. And like I mentioned earlier, we also have something called the automation library, which is basically both where Hudu as well as some of our customers have been adding scripts in for various things inside of Hudu. Anywhere from Houdini to N8N is a super popular one that I know has been talked about a lot in our Reddit, to just your typical PowerShell scripts. We have quite a lot in there already, and we definitely want to expand on that to make that a full repository of basically full, anything that you would want to do with the API to provide various automations to your instance. We want that to be available for all of our users in that automation library. So feel free to join, introduce yourself in there, and if you can contribute to scripts, that's also where we're posting our events, other training videos, and all of our release notes can be found in there as well. So again, Jordan has that link in the chat there. Please feel free to join in on our community. Yeah, and I know we have a question on N8N right now, and Jordan's answering that. But speaking of that, we also have some upcoming webinars, and one of those is actually going to be an N8N overview. Where we're going to kind of talk through one of Hudu's customers and talk through N8N, going over some basics of N8N, because I know that's a question we get asked a lot is okay, I understand what N8N does, but how do I interact with the data? How do I use it? And so through our webinar, we're going to be talking about those things. We also have an upcoming webinar with CyberQP as well. If you don't use CyberQP, it's an integration partner of ours that will automatically rotate passwords in Hudu. So we do have an upcoming webinar with them as well. And as you're all here today, I imagine that you're in the loop on one of these things, but this is basically our kind of four of our areas where you can get information about what Hudu's doing, whether it be releases, webinars, training, etc. Community, you can sign up for our newsletter. Our subreddit is also very popular, and get a lot of questions on that pretty much on a daily basis. And then we also have our resources page on our website. Conferences, maybe some of you attended and talked to Jordan and I there. I know that we did have a couple people come up to us and were like, hey, you do the webinars. So it was always great to meet you in person. We have a couple of pictures here for you at both MSP GeekCon with, of course, our Goose here as well, and then Kaseya Global as well. So those were great conferences, great to meet so many people. And we're looking forward to more conferences coming up. And then last thing, I always like to talk about this, and that's going to be Hudu's beta program. So if you are a part of beta or if you're not a part of beta and you want to be, for instance, Jordan just mentioned all of those features coming out in 2.38. Maybe you frequently use Intune and you're eager to start testing that integration and pulling in your Intune devices and information. It may make sense for you to jump on beta and test out that, give us feedback. Hopefully, there's not any, but if there are any bugs, provide feedback on that as well. And so our beta program's been growing quite a bit through these past couple of months, and it really does help what shapes us to kind of create and add to Hudu. So if you are a self-hosted user, definitely recommend checking out the beta program. You can sign up for the newsletter and get access to those features that we're talking about a little bit early. If you want any more information on beta, just feel free to reach out to us as well. We're happy to send that over. And I know, yeah, where do we get the beta release notes so we know what is being released? Yeah, Kristen, if you wouldn't mind sending over the beta newsletter information, which is kind of what we just talked through, that would be great. That'll be the best access for that. Jordan, thanks for answering a couple of those other questions in here. All right, so we'll take the rest of the couple minutes here to answer any questions, do some Q&A. Uh, Good timing again, Jordan. We did good on this one as well, ending a couple minutes early. So if you do want to kind of log off for today, get a couple minutes back out of your day, then feel free to do so. It was a pleasure having you here, and thanks so much for joining. Again, we'll continue to answer a couple of questions if any come in the next 2 minutes or so here. Otherwise, thanks so much. This is seriously, this is probably my favorite thing that we get to do and interact with you all and get feedback and talk about what's new. So thank you all so much. Jordan, if you want to chip in on that as well.
Yeah, just reiterating what Daniel said. Thank you all for joining us today. I agree; these are my favorite webinars to do. I love talking product. I will go ahead and throw my email and Daniel's email in the chat. If you do have other questions that we didn't happen to get to, or that come up after the webinar, please feel free to shoot those over. Ideas for features, anything like that. We'd love to talk through those. Hudu's obviously a community built product, so we love engaging with the community. Thanks again, everybody. Todd, great question. Are there any plans to have fields that are dependent on another field? Yes, we absolutely have ideas for this. I don't have a timeline on when this would be developed, but we are actively investigating how we can go ahead and add in conditional kind of logic to those fields. That'll come with a kind of asset layout overhaul as well, make those a little bit easier to edit and utilize. So.
All right. Well, I think that is probably a good place to wrap up for today. Again, just want to reiterate, thank you all so much. I know we have familiar faces in here that have been joining us with these in the past year, every quarter, and thank you always for your feedback. If this is your first one of these quarter updates that you've attended, hopefully it was helpful for you. And hopefully we see you again in our Q3 update when a lot of those features that Jordan just talked about are released for you. And we keep on improving Hudu. And again, it wouldn't be possible without all the help that you provide. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and call it there. Thanks again, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll talk soon. Bye, everybody.